see I don't need a negative. So I'm taking a negative 5 out as my common factor. The purpose is doing that, so this turns out to be positive in there. Okay? Negative 5 into negative 5x gives me a positive x, and negative 5 divided negative 35 is plus 7. Now what's your common factor? X plus 7 is in both of them, so it becomes the common factor. Group together what you have left, which is 2x minus 5. Now we have two factors multiplied equal to 0. What do you do next? Set each one of them equal to 0 and solve for x. Subtract 7 in this equation from both sides. X is equal to negative 7. Add 5 to both sides in the second equation. And on the left, you get 2x plus a 0, which is 2x. And on the right, you get a 5. Now what do? Divide both sides by 2. And you got x is equal to 5 halves. So your solution is 7 and 5 halves. Okay?
Negative 7.
Excuse me, negative 7. Thank you. Don't do as I say. I mean, don't do as I do as I say, huh? Don't forget your negatives. All right, any questions about that? You see the technique? All you're doing is employing what you have learned about factoring to solving an equation. We good? Now, as we move into some of the other techniques, you may get real number answers. You may get imaginary or complex number answers. So if you see that happening, don't panic and think you've done something wrong. That's a good possibility that can happen. So technique 2 is going to be referred to as the following. It's called square root. Technique. To solve quadratic equations. Okay? Square root technique to solve quadratic equations. Okay. What's your base over here for your exponent? You got a square up there. What's its base? What is that 2 telling you to multiply times itself twice?
2x plus 3.
2x plus 3. So the whole parentheses, this whole base is being squared. Now, you can't use this technique all the time. But when you see a pattern happening and you can use it, it makes life easier. Okay? You don't have as much work to do. So what you're looking for is wherever the variable is located in this thing, does it have either itself grouped with something that's squared or is just the variable itself being squared? That's what you're looking for. Does not matter if what's on the other side isn't squared. Okay? The key is where the variable is. So if you do, it's called square root technique, take the square root of both sides of the equation. So if I take the square root of this base
It would equal to 2.
being squared. Now remember, I'm solving, so I want all possible answers. Okay? When you were simplifying, up to now, when you've been simplifying, if you had the square root of 4, what did I tell you to take as your answer? Just the 2, right? Simplifying, you always take the principal square root. Solving, you got to take all of them. So 2 squared is 4, but a negative 2 squared is also 4, isn't it? So how do we do that when we're solving equations? If I'm taking the square root or using the square root technique, it means I got to do the same thing to both sides still. So I say this is equal to either positive or negative of the square root of 4. That gives me all possible solutions. Okay? Now, back to your rule of exponents. When you take the square root of something squared, that cancels each other out, and what's under here comes out. So this comes out as a 2x plus 3. Now, can we take that out or can we simplify it?
Simplify it.
Yeah, it comes out, doesn't it? What is it?
2.
2. So this is plus or minus a 2. Now we want to solve this for x. So we do the same game we've been doing. We're going to subtract the 3 from both sides. Now it's going to look a little different until we get to the end, okay?
Plus or minus negative.
That goes to 0 and I got 2x. Now what have I got over here? I've got
plus or
a
minus
negative 3, put the plus or minus behind all the time or to the right. Negative 3 plus or minus a 2. That's what I've got so far. I'm not adding it yet.
Okay.
I want to put it there so you can see what we're talking about. Now, in this particular case, when we simplified this, it turned out to be a number that I can now simplify. Well, how am I going to simplify it? I've got 2x is equal to a negative 3 plus 2. And I've got 2x is equal to a negative 3 minus 2. Do you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Now, negative 3 plus 2 is negative 1. That's what 2x is equal to. So divide both sides by 2 and I get negative 1/2.
Yep.
Negative 3 minus 2 is a negative 5 equal to 2x. So when I divide both sides by 2, I'm going to get negative 5/2. Question? We good with that? Now, if you looked at this problem and you said, okay, that tells me to write this down twice and multiply it, then you're going to multiply by the FOIL method, aren't you? You should. If you don't, you're wrong. 2x plus 3 squared means 2x plus 3, 2x plus 3, and you got to go through FOIL. Okay? And when you do that, then you got to subtract 4 from whatever you got, right? You multiply all that out, collect your like terms, you're going to subtract the 4. And when you get through with that, you got something that's going to have to be factored. Now, do you see that if you recognize the square root technique, you don't have to go through all that, do you? Is it wrong to do it the other way? No, it'll get you there. You're just going to have a few more steps. It will get you there. Any questions about that particular problem? Let's look at another one. Let's say you have one that looks like this. What's the first thing you're going to do? Do what? Tell us what you say.
I don't know.
Does what would you do? Just guess. If you don't know, guess.
Square root that first part like you did in the last problem.
What is different about this one and this
Oh,
one?
it had 7.
Yeah, that's
You got to separate what's squared. You got to separate it. So what is the first thing you're going to do? add 7.